Perfect.
All right, are we live?
I think we're live. What's up, everybody?
Hello. You'll notice we are one man down. We're a man down tonight. And that would be, of course, Big Johnson, who has found better pastures to go to tonight.
That's right.
You know, it is what it is. He's left us, not for good. So but he has left us.
Yeah, he'll be back next week doing other things.
What's up, Nolan?
We've got a pretty good crowd in here tonight.
Yeah. Let's see. Blazin, what's up? Gerald, what's up? Mateo, Jesus, PGH fan. I think that's all I got right now.
CWB, Craig Fatla is in the house.
7-Up's there.
Tom Sullivan. I see Tom Sullivan.
We got Knuckles 60, Young Guns, Lock and Load Lifestyle. Oh, Nolan, that's right. I just said Nolan before. Duh. All right, so I guess we'll start like in a minute. We'll let everybody kind of round themselves in here if they've got nothing better to do with their time. Hopefully we do. So right now we've got 26 people viewing us. I'm sure we have at least 3 thumbs down already because it's on my channel.
Not yet. Give it time.
So we're going to start this off in about a minute, fellas, and we'll start kind of giving you our little intros of what's happened recently and some of the other things that you may or may not have known about. And then, yeah, I am cold, Razor. It's getting cold up here, man. We're going to get a cold front coming up, I think, Friday night. It's supposed to be like 14 degrees. Awesome. Hey, Blazin, hook me up with $5. $5, make you holla, right? So yeah, it's getting cold up here. It sucks. I hate it. I hate cold weather. So yeah. And I just got out of the gym, so I'm wearing a little t-shirt. I'm a little chilly. All right, want to get this started there, KS?
Let's do it.
All right. So let's start off with a couple of things. Thing number one, obviously you guys all know about the tragic events in Texas. So we're not going to spend a lot of time because people get turned off right away if we start talking about things like this. But I don't really care. It's my chat. But more or less, you know, obviously when it happened, everybody, of course, on the left was like guns, guns, guns. You know, I actually went on a tweeting or Twitter rampage, I don't know, whatever, on a rampage, just basically calling out the senators who came out saying it's guns, guns, guns. And I actually tweeted to them back, it's actually not guns, it's actually mental health, and that's the real crisis. And I basically told them, but you don't say anything about that because Big Pharma basically pays for your campaigns. And amazingly enough, I got a lot of likes on those comments, which doesn't really happen often in my Twitter account. But, you know, obviously we now know that this person was deranged for multiple reasons, but more importantly that the Air Force dropped the ball and they did not let the FBI know that this person was court-martialed and had a felony conviction, technically. And so now, as a result, we see the tragedy unfold. Now there's lives that have been ruined, families that have lost an entire family, except for, I think, the father or something like that. But, you know, again, needless, it should never have happened. But ultimately, what it boils down to is not the fact that it's a gun. It's the fact that we had a guy who had mental health issues that did not get whether the help it was, or at least recognize they had these issues. So, you know, that's my statement on that. And I'd like to hear what KS has to say.
Yeah, I've paid more attention to it just from a media coverage standpoint. And I always find it interesting when there's some sort of tragedy like this, and it's got a little bit of a caveat to it. I mean, there was an average citizen who stepped in and was part of the deal and had a firearm, and of course, media plays that down quite a bit, unfortunately. And it's that one glimmer of hope that we have from a gun loving community, so to speak, and we appreciate the value of firearms and all the good that they can bring. And it's played down, and it's too bad, of course, when it's a tragedy and it doesn't have that caveat to it. Of course, everybody blows it up all over the place, but it's funny how that sort of thing is spun. But either way, I'm with you. I mean, this was definitely a mental health issue, and his background was not brought to light properly to potentially avoid something like this, and that's a major concern as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I'm in favor of us keeping any sort of dangerous object out of the hands of potentially dangerous people, you know? Look at that, shellfish. Wow, heck of a deal.
Wow. Awesome, dude.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, this is the range.
Oh,
What's
okay.
up, range?
You know,
You like to keep us guessing, you know?
yeah, no, the other thing, you know, just really quickly, the only thing that got me concerned was with a few of the people who are, you know, quote unquote gun advocates in Congress. They were talking about, you know, having judges have the power to remove guns. And, you know, that's where I feel like maybe that's a little bit of an overreach. And the reason why I say that is because, as you guys know, in New York State, it's almost ridiculous, the rules we have to play by. And I don't want to talk too much about it because I feel like I've talked this point over and over and over again, and it's kind of redundant. But, you know, KS and I have been speaking, and right now it is 7 weeks since I put in my, you know, permission slip to get my handguns that I paid for myself. And I had to call the sheriff's office. The sheriff actually emailed me asking me to call him so I could speak to him directly. We had a conversation. He gave me some advice. I wound up calling the judge and spoke to his clerk, asking why is it taken literally 30 days today, and I still haven't heard anything. And the woman responded saying, well, the judge just signed them all, and we're going to be sending them out this week. You know, again, you look at some of these judges who are interpreting laws that, in their opinion, it's not really interpretation. It's just they decide whatever the hell they want, and there's really no recall on that. And that is what disturbs me the most about it, is if we're going to put a system in place, we need to make sure that that system is amicable for everyone. You can't just be, okay, we're going to gun grab, because next thing you know it, they'll start targeting, you know, ex-soldiers who've come back and have PTSD. And that's my fear, that they're going to disarm people who have no issues. Yes, they may have PTSD, but that's still not enough of a reason to take their guns from them. Now, obviously, if you beat your infant son and you crack his skull, yeah, I think that's enough of a reason to take your firearm. Sorry. That's just my opinion. I know some people say when criminals, you know, pay their debt to society, they should have their gun rights back. I'm not of that belief. I just don't believe that. You know, if you commit a crime and it's some sort of violent crime, some sort of battery or something like that, I don't care if you do your time. You don't deserve to have a gun, period. So hate me if you want. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. Hey, Blazin made a comment just a few moments ago saying you guys hear about the assault weapons ban of 2017, breaking news, and there a little bit of jest in there. I mean, obviously it's not breaking news, but you know, it's funny. The sporting rifle, and I call them sporting rifles. I mean, we can call them ARs, or some people call them assault rifles, even though they really aren't. They're sporting rifles, right? They have a different look to them than perhaps some other sporting rifles do. But it's such a shame that that people that are, I will just say, uninformed or ill-informed, have demonized one firearm so much, and it's such a target, no pun intended, for the left and people against guns to go after something when the rifle does nothing more or less than really any other firearm. I mean, it's an odd deal right there.
Right.
I think that's really funny.
And you know, the other stupid thing about this is they want to focus on guns, but then what is the excuse of the guy who ran over everybody in New York a couple of weeks ago? Notice how that has quaintly disappeared, and now, of course, at the forefront is their war on firearms in America, which is, you know, really, like, what are you going to take away, trucks now? But you know, it's one of those things. We're going to have to keep on fighting and keep on pushing. You know, I made as many phone calls as I could recently to try to find out what was going on. I appreciate the sheriff of my county actually reaching out to me. But I think right now the problem is, especially in this state, is we have a lot of liberal judges who were appointed by Cuomo who are destroying our gun rights and then doing it under the pretense of, you know, their interpretation of the law. So,
right.
You know, it is what it is, I guess, at this point. But I'm going to keep pushing. So if I don't see anything next week, they'll get another phone call, and we'll see how it goes. So we'll see.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, want to talk about some gun stuff?
Let's talk about some guns, man.
All right, everybody's in there saying, yeah. All right, so I'm going to show them this, KS, because this is kind of exciting news, guys. Because KS has an M&P 2.0 compact. Do you still have the other one?
No, I do not. I stayed with the compact.
So he's got the compact, and I have one that's coming probably within the next decade or so. We were actually contacted by this amazing company, and I'll just hold that up. It's called Apex. And you'll notice there what it says on that box. And yes, my hands aren't steady. And no, it's not because I'm detoxing like that, you know, stupid ass comment we got that one time. But if you notice here, this is actually the new flat face trigger from Apex for their M&P 2.0. The awesome thing about these triggers, guys, is that they fit on the full size, the 4¼ inch, and also the compact. So it's, you know, universally accepted by all three of those handguns. And, you know, from what I've been told by my buddy KS, this trigger is badass. And as soon as I get mine in, this bad boy's going on there. And I want to thank Apex for doing that, because these are just coming out now, guys. They're just releasing them. So that's pretty awesome.
Yep. Yeah. So to kind of carry that forward, and I've got the 2.0 compact here, and I've got the Apex in it. Again, thanks Apex for that. And I got to tell you guys, obviously I don't sell products. I don't get any kickbacks for any of this stuff. Sometimes we get lucky and a company will send us something, and luckily we get to say whatever we want. In fact, I've got a product review coming up that I have not glowing things to say about, and they will never work with me again, and that's perfectly fine with me. But we get to be honest, and I have to say, this probably is one of the most impactful mods I've ever made on a gun. And if you saw the other M&P videos I've made recently, my biggest criticism is the trigger, the hinge trigger. A lot of people don't like it very much, me included. And this Apex trigger, I got to tell you guys, it is about Big Daddy you the other night. My God.
Jesus, dude. Look, guys, all seriousness, I appreciate it. We all appreciate it. But you know what? If you're a hardworking person, keep your own money, guys, and then do what you want with it and enjoy it. You know, if you want to buy something, buy something. You know, we appreciate it, but we're not going to ask you, you know. So if you want it, great. But at the same time, go out and buy yourself like 50 rounds of ammo and shoot it at a target for us. You know, I would totally be cool with that too, man. So thanks. But I mean, one side of me wants to say, yeah, keep going. But on the other side, dude, you know what? Save your money, buy some shit for yourself, and be happy. Sorry, KS, I just had to say that. Sorry about
that. No, that's okay. But also we really appreciate it, and we appreciate all you guys, because we learn more from you than I'm sure you would ever learn from us. But anyways, so the trigger, to make a long story short, is absolutely fantastic. What conversation am I missing right now? 1776.
They're basically telling me, you know, I don't really go to the gym. I'm the fake news of gym. I'm the CNN of the gym. That's nice. Right. I just sit there and do squats. I do lots and lots of squats.
That's exactly right.
Pop's telling me to shut my mouth and just say thank you. I said, Pops, but I'd rather have you guys use your money for things you want. You know, no pandering here.
I, however, will take your money. Anyway, so a video forthcoming on the trigger. It's fantastic. It really, in all honesty, is freaking sweet. So anyway, that's all we're going to say about that.
So it looks like Music LVR is saying Dianne Feinbusch just pushed major gun ban legislation. Not a surprise. I mean, it's not a surprise. You know, that is exactly what they're going. Now you have Virginia, because Virginia, the governor, is the governor or a Senate seat or something? I think it was a Senate seat, was just turned over by a from Republican to Democrat or some shit like that. I don't know. And he's supposedly not going after guns, but he wants to introduce legislation supposedly that's going to keep the guns out of people's hands who aren't supposed to have them. What that really means, I don't know. And my worry, like I said, are people who are, you know, victims of PTSD, because I say they're victims because, you know, to have you know, these whatever you want to call it, these emotional traumas from war, let's say, I don't think it's right to keep guns out of their hands. I think that's ridiculous. So I don't know. You know, it's a shame what's going on here. Living up here, I'm used to it. That's all I can say, and it sucks balls. Trust me.
Well, it could potentially trickle down to everywhere else too. So we're all in the same boat to one degree or another. So
right. So
yeah.
Where's the guy with the great hair? Rich is asking. He's taken the night off. Apparently, he's found I don't know, cooler people to hang with, which I don't blame him. I'm not gonna lie. Case is a bit of a drag.
Yeah, true. I've met me.
What was the what do I want to talk about? What else do we want to talk about? I forget, because I'm dumb.
Thanks, Glock17. Appreciate you. Good to see you tonight. Hello to everybody, of course. Scab, good to see you. Abaddon. Okay, I've got a question for you guys, and I talked to 17 about this before the chat because I saw a new firearm being released here pretty soon, and certainly very different for my channel. I think any of our channels as we focus more on conventional handguns. But this is actually an AR pistol, and I think all of us are to a degree fans, or a lot of you guys probably have them out there. I never have, and I kind of have been interested in it. And there's a new one coming out, so I'm kind of curious to get your perspective on this, because I know we're not always a fan of this particular company, Springfield Armory, but they're coming out with a Saint pistol AR, and it looks pretty freaking sweet. So I'm curious to know what you guys think about that, and give me some feedback on that, if it would be something you would be interested in seeing a video on.
You know, who cares? Who cares if it's made by Springfield? I mean, you're keeping a good, hardworking Americans employed. You know, I know a lot of people are saying you shouldn't buy Springfield because of what the company heads did, but what about the people who work there, who work for a living, have families to raise? You know what? Yeah, it's going to go into the pockets of the owners too, but you know, there are workers there, you know, and you got to keep that in mind as well. Although I personally wouldn't buy the whatever the hell that thing is called, the Saint. First off, the name is stupid.
That's true. That's true.
And secondly, I'm probably wrong on this, but there's probably many, many more better options out there.
Gotcha. And I'm already seeing Mateo feels very strongly, as does Wicked. Yeah. So no, and that's actually very helpful. I appreciate that. So if you guys have some other suggestions for AR pistols that are kind of ready to go out of the box, that are good quality, let me know for sure, because I am kind of interested.
Yeah.
Hey, Trashman did ask a question. He says, just filled out the app for his concealed carry. Congratulations, by the way. Do you feel like they will deny people because of what's happening? And he is in Philadelphia.
Oof, boy. Well, if you're in Philly, again, being in the urban area of Philadelphia, I can only imagine how difficult it is to get a carry permit there. If it's anything like New York, God bless and good luck, pal. Do I think it's going to affect the process? I think on paper, they'll say no, but in the back room workings and dealings, probably, depending on what the agenda is and who's in power. If I'm not mistaken, Philly is run by Democrat communists or something of that sort. So I could see them definitely probably trying to, you know, hold back a little bit. You know, it sucks, man. It's just, it doesn't even make sense. It's not even a rational argument, you know, oh, guns. But what are you doing to stop the people? I mean, this thing right here isn't going to do a damn thing to anybody. It's a gun. It's a gun. Oh my God, it's dangerous. It's only dangerous if it's got a round in the chamber. Somebody points at you and they pull the trigger. That's the only way it's going to be a danger. So it's not a rational argument. But again, you know, they're working on the heartstrings of people and not engaging in a rational discussion because they know they couldn't win it. So they go by an emotional discussion, and that's why so many people are falling for this shit hook, line, and sinker. So
right.
Sucks, dude.
Yeah, I would hope that you know, if concealed carry is allowed in Philadelphia right now, which I believe it is, that they would continue to do so. That this would not impact the powers that be in filing the paperwork and get everything out the door. You know, until some sort of legislation changes that is widespread. You know, hopefully they will continue to do what they do. But I say just, you know, fill it out, send it in, do your thing, and hopefully that'll all turn around pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So real quickly, one other question right actually below it. It was from Music Lover. He said, I'd be worried about carrying a flat trigger on an M&P. I will tell you, a trigger is a trigger, and this is coming in around 5 to 5.5 pounds, so it's really no different than any other trigger. It's just a better quality trigger. It feels better. There shouldn't be any worry about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it being flat or hooked. I mean, you know, you take a PO1, for example, it's got that big hook on there. You know, if this gets hooked on something, even though it's a heavier trigger because it's double action, but any trigger, if it gets hooked on something, is going to get pulled. You know, when you're holstering and reholstering your gun, you always want to take care, keep the finger off the trigger, make sure that even if you can, visualize where the gun is going first. You know, a lot of times I lead in with the muzzle, just to feel where the actual holster is before I actually engage and push in. But you know, I don't, this isn't any more dangerous than any other trigger. I think KS is right on that one.
Right.
Blazin is asking, did I ever get the Apex trigger for the PPQ? I actually spoke to them about that, and they were in the process of sending me one. But since I wasn't able to get my gun, they'd probably say, screw this guy. And I'm hoping it'll be in. I'm going to probably just do a nice reminder and see if I can get it, because I'm really anxious to see how much better the pull is. They said it reduces it tremendously. So we'll see. I don't know. You know, hopefully they'll keep that up. Let's see. What else we got going on here? Flat triggers are sexy. Okay.
Yeah, they are. There are a couple guys that are recommending some alternatives to the Springfield Saint. Let's see. Who was it? Didn't Harry? I think Harry said something about that a moment ago. I think I lost it in my scrolling, unfortunately. But there's some other options out there. Oh, here it is. An Aero Precision from Brownells, actually, of all places, $560 shipped. So this Aero Precision is this is an AR pistol, right? So that means it's I would imagine 223, 556, that sort of thing, and it's a 10.5 inch, which is great. So that's good to know. I appreciate that. I'll look into that.
I know a lot of people out there are talking about Steyr. That's cool. I know Mary Marie? She said something about the fact that do the Steyrs actually exist? I'm going to tell you they most certainly do exist. If you know, honestly, guys, most gun stores aren't going to be carrying these, and you really just have to go with kind of your gut and decide if you're just going to pull the trigger, so to speak, on it. But I am telling you that if you choose to get a Steyr, whether it's an M9, C9, L9, S9, I'm telling you, you're not going to be disappointed at all.
Yeah, I echo that. I mean, the grip alone is worth experiencing. It kind of melts in your hand, and it is so incredibly flat. I mean, it's almost like that slide is just right there against your grip. It's absolutely fantastic, and the trigger is tremendous. The reset kind of blows a little bit, but the trigger otherwise feels absolutely fantastic.
Now, there's a couple of things I just saw. Some people are saying the Steyr has a $50 rebate right now. That is correct. It's up until, I think, the end of December, which is awesome. I mean, it's not, you know, $100, but $50, it's not bad. And then also somebody, who is it? I'm trying to see. Oh, PGH fan said that he got a Glock 19 Gen 5 with Ameriglo sights for $650. What do you think, KS? You think he got raped as he's asking?
What was the price again? I was reading another comment. I'm sorry.
$650. Pay attention.
I'm so sorry. With Ameriglo sights, $650. To me, that's a tiny bit high, but at least you're getting the sights. You're kind of done with it. You can just run, so you don't have to really do anything else. Did you get raped? No, you really didn't get raped, because they are generally going for around like $560. I think most people are saying, and I don't think stores are budging too much from that right now, from my experience. So you paid for the upgraded sights. They're at least good sights. So I think you did okay, and it'll be a gun that'll last. So, you know, don't feel too bad about it. I really wouldn't.
And then Knuckles60 saying, wish Apex would make his Steyr trigger. Interesting that you said that. When we were speaking about this, the M&P 2.0 trigger, I inquired about that. And, you know, I explained to him, you know, they don't have a very wide market share right now, but it seems like more and more people are starting to realize how good this gun is. But he said right now they just wouldn't have enough demand to justify making it. So I was like, okay, that sucks. So nothing from them at this time, guys. Sorry.
Keep buying them. They'll make them for sure. Hunts for Food asked if the install of the flat trigger on the 2.0 compact was easy peasy. So I can answer that. It's kind of twofold. Yes, it's not very difficult. I did part of it myself. I mean, I took the whole thing apart, and that was very easy, because the 2.0 full size and compact have push pins rather than roll pins, so much easier just to begin with right out of the gate. I did the sear and the sear spring. I took apart the trigger from the trigger bar and all of that, but then there was one tool I don't have, so I was not able to actually put the new flat face trigger on the trigger bar. So I had my gunsmith do that part. Just it was much easier than me trying to figure out an alternative, which might have damaged something, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't damage the damn thing, because I'm sure Apex would have said, you're never, ever, ever existing to us again. So I went the conservative route. But long story short, yes, it's not very difficult to do.
I'm probably going to do my own installation, so hopefully I don't destroy it, and we'll see. You know, I've seen somebody do it on video, not this particular trigger, but the trigger is basically, would you agree that it's very similar to some of the other systems that Apex has come out with in regards to what it has in it? Because if so, I was watching a video, the guy used, I believe, vice grips and then just popped the pin in with the trigger and no damage, nothing.
No, that's right. As far as the vice grips, as far as the parts go, it's certainly different. I mean, you've got some experience now with Glocks. You know, Glocks have almost there are so few parts, and there are certainly so few parts that that people generally switch out. This is a little bit more involved and a little bit more intricate, but once you kind of get an idea of what you're trying to do, you quickly say, oh, okay, I get it, and it's not that. Excuse me, it's not that difficult. It's a little bit more finicky. You've got to work with slightly smaller parts, but that's it.
Yeah, and then Hunts for Food is saying they have a video for it. I think I'm just going to do it myself. I do a lot of my own stuff because you know I figure I can handle it, and then I usually screw it up, like Pops was implying. So we'll see. We'll see.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. So Jesus had asked the largest caliber gun I own, and this really should go for both of us. So what's your largest caliber you have?
I responded for handguns is 9, for rifles 7.62 by 39, and then Jesus asked me if I had an M1, and I wish I had one.
Okay,
I'll be right back.
Okay, so for me, as far as calibers go, the largest I've ever owned, probably in a handgun, was probably a 357 Magnum. I would say that's a larger or heavier caliber, more robust round than a 45. But currently, right now, just 9mm. I mean, I kind of stick to 9mm. It's easier. It's more cost effective for me, especially with the channel, which I have to pretty much consider most of the time these days. But I love bringing in 45s. At some point, Mateo has basically convinced me to do a 40. So at some point, I will do a 40. So because I'd like to get that experience a little bit more. But and they're less expensive than they used to be, which is great. I'd really like to try a 357 SIG at some point in time. I haven't done that either, so at some point I will do that. Mateo said he shot a single shot 50 cal. That's freaking badass. That would be pretty cool. As far as rifles go, I think probably the biggest round rifle is probably like maybe a 30-06 or something like that. I mean, that's pretty substantial round, at least in my mind. That's about as big as it's gotten for me. So.
Let's see. Jesus is saying he thought I got an M1 Grand. I was looking at one, but unfortunately, for whatever stupid reason, I couldn't justify paying the price tag on it. I just couldn't do it. So I wound up getting a. I know people laugh when I say this, but I like the gun. I got a Ruger Mini 14 in 5.56. I think it's a great shooter. I have no issues with it. And I also have an SKS, which I have some things coming up for that soon. And some other things. That's all I'm going to say. But, nothing too big. I have no bolt actions. That's one thing I thought about, getting a bolt action rifle, but it just never really made sense for me, in my opinion. So
I'm a big fan of bolt action. In fact, and you guys will probably laugh, the only bolt action I have right now in the collection actually is a Ruger 1022 American rifle bolt action. But actually, I'll tell you what, it is a ton of fun to shoot, and it's incredibly accurate. Bolt action rifles are inherently accurate because of the way they lock up. So it's a lot of fun, and 22s, take them for what they are. They are fun plinking guns, and you can go out and just be silly and plink and that sort of thing. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, and let's see. SKSs are still legal in New York. Yes, they are. They do not have a detachable magazine, so you're still able to shoot them. Just can't have like a bayonet or and all other kinds of crap. But that's fine.
Okay, Pops is besting me. He's saying it's not a 1022 if it's a bolt action. You're right, Dave, because the mechanism's a little bit different. I've always just I associate Ruger with 1022, and I do have a 1022. But you're right, it's just an American rifle, and it's a 22 long rifle.
Right.
Busted.
Let's see. Farm Freaks on. Hello. The other thing that has been coming up recently, and I've seen a lot of people putting videos out there about this, is that other additional website that people are flocking to, I guess, in droves at this point, and that would be VidMe. I've been on VidMe, gosh, probably maybe almost 8 months, probably not that much, maybe 6 months. And you know, I appreciate everybody who's going over there and is I guess they call them followers or some shit. I don't know what they call them. But you know, my numbers have gone up in regards to that. I mean, I'm hopeful because I know there is still some issues with YouTube. I know, you know, they demonetized my Triple C video that I did to him, where he gave me the patch and I made that video. They demonetized it after it was monetized, and then it's monetized again. And again, why they're doing that, I don't know. So a lot of my videos are still demonetized, and honestly, I don't really care because it doesn't really matter anymore. You know, I'm not going to get caught up in it. It's just stupid. I think YouTube is going to make a big mistake by alienating certain communities, and if they choose to do that, then more power to them if that's what they choose to do. I am hopeful that VidMe will start picking up a little bit. I know that every time I go on there, it's mostly like gaming videos and just like weird stuff that I have no interest in watching. But I'm kind of hopeful, man, that something will pick up over there. I know that they're talking about monetizing people, and supposedly people will get 70% from VidMe if they're monetized, but right now they don't have a lot of sponsors. And my only concern with that is eventually they'll sell out to something like Google, and then Google will screw it up anyway. So we'll see.
Right. Yeah, I haven't had really much of any experience with VidMe. I mean, I've got an account. I think I put one video out there, but then I kind of lost interest a little bit. So I may explore that more. But at this point, I'm kind of sticking with YouTube right now just because I would eventually forget what video was where and all that kind of stuff. And it's just more than I kind of want to monitor. Now, Chris Hunter has a question I think you might be able to answer here in a moment. But before we get to that real quickly, and we don't say this enough on our chats, I don't think, but guys, as you wander around, check out everybody's names and go to their channels and see if they've got a channel with content on it, and subscribe to them. There are a ton of people in here with channels, with really good channels. So yeah. I highly recommend you kind of wander around and get to know some of the other guys in their channels and that sort of thing, because they're great guys and everybody supports everybody here in the community and everything. And we should be better about saying that sort of thing. And I apologize that we don't, but it just happened to pop to me. So be sure to do that at some point. So he had asked a question. I think you can answer this, 17. He decided to get the TrueGlow TFX Pros on his PO1. Does the front sight need to be drilled out to install?
Negative. If you've got a punch, basically what you need to do is real thin punch, and then you're going to punch out from left to right, because it's on one side, I forget what they call it, it's flattened, and the other side is not. So you just need to punch it out left to right. And then just take a nylon punch or something and just punch out the front side. It'll pop right out because you can see there's like that track right there. Oh no, I'm pointing the gun at the screen. Jesus.
Not you.
Once you punch it out, you may have to lightly sand the bottom of the new one and punch it back in. I didn't have to. And then what you do is you'll take a punch like this that actually has a hole in it. You'll put your pin back in that hole, and then you'll just punch it into the gun and off, and it goes right in, no issues. The pin might be a pain in the ass to get out because it's pretty solid, man. It's in there. So just be patient with it. But eventually it'll come out. I mean, I punched it out, no issues. Didn't destroy the gun, so that's a good thing. And they've been on there ever since. So you just got to be patient with it and be gentle, so to speak, unless you want your finish all screwed up. But then again, that'll give you an excuse to go out and get it sandblasted and, Cerakote the whole thing. But yeah, that's all you got to do. Don't have to drill it.
Nice. Let's see here. Shellfish. Shellfish. It's going to take me a while to get used to saying that range. But okay, so just bought a great clinker from Prepper at Kel-Tec Sub 2040 in navy blue, $299. Those Kel-Tecs, the Sub 2000s are pretty cool, and they're not very expensive. It's one I've had a couple of opportunities to purchase one. In fact, Centerfire had one not too long ago, and it was like $400, which really isn't very much. But I have never pulled the proverbial trigger on that. But I hear they're a lot of fun. They fold up and you can kind of go anywhere. So
just really quick, this is what I bought online to be able to punch out the pin from the CZ. So I actually got this on eBay for, I think it was like $6. So basically they're roll spring or roll pin holders, but you can also use them as a punch. I wouldn't because they're steel. But basically all you do is you put the roll pin in it, it'll hold it. And this is the smallest one that comes with it. And that's the one I use. And you basically put the roll pin on the tip and then it punches it in straight. So it doesn't, cause you grief. But it's called Grace USA Tools.
Nice.
So
that's pretty cool. So real quickly, and Shellfish is kind of helping me out with this a little bit. Music Lover asked a question. How do you feel about legal liability about trigger changes? And also, I am a she. I appreciate that, Music Lover, and I apologize if I said he, but excellent question. So I think a lot of people would probably have an opinion about that here. My personal opinion, I don't think it makes a bit of a difference for a couple of reasons. First of all, as long as you don't have a negligent discharge, in other words, if for some reason you have to pull your firearm and you have to shoot it in a self-defense situation, and it's a righteous shoot, generally speaking, from what I understand, and I am not a lawyer, and I don't think 1776 is either. So take anything we say with a grain of salt and not as gospel. But if it's a justifiable shoot, the aftermarket trigger really should not come into play. Now, if it's a negligent discharge, that could be a whole different issue, because people can make a very easy, very quick argument and convince a jury very quickly that you've in some way or another tampered with your trigger or enhanced it, made it lighter, easier to go off, and there was a problem, there was an accident, somebody got hurt. You can draw your own conclusions from there. But otherwise, changing your trigger out, as far as I'm concerned, just makes the trigger better on most guns, and it makes the quality of shooting, the experience of the gun better.
Yeah, it's hard to say because we're not attorneys. So I think you're right on that aspect. I think it also depends on the community that you're living in. In maybe more gun-friendly areas of America, you probably wouldn't have to justify as much as, let's say, up here. Plus, you got to think of your local laws. I mean, you have stand your ground laws in certain states. Up here, you don't. So I think it depends on that. Also, if they talk about trigger weight, and let's say you went from a 6-pound trigger to a 4-pound trigger, how can you explain then people carrying, 1911s? It's hard to say, but I think a lot of it has to deal with where you're living. I mean, if you're living in California or, New York, I think you'd have a tougher time with a modified gun. It doesn't mean that you're going to be found guilty, and especially if you can get a good lawyer. But I think you'd have a tougher time with that. In a state like, let's say, Florida or Texas, I think you'd have less to worry about, and I think it just depends on that.
Right. Tom Sullivan made a good point. If these bullshit laws continue to blame gun features, I see trigger mods becoming an issue, FYI. Tom, that's a great point. And, bump stocks kind of opened the door a little bit with Las Vegas. And so people, I think, probably are paying a little bit more attention to what we would consider normal everyday accessories and quality enhancements to a firearm, right? That really don't equate anything more than better quality of shooting. But yeah, you're exactly right, and it's probably something we ought to continue to pay attention to. But I hope, again, that bump stocks withstanding, bump stocks aside a little bit, most modifications done to firearms hopefully would continue to be just modifications and nothing more.
Right. All right, so we got a couple of questions here. Blazin asked, what about the P10C? I don't really know what he means by that. So maybe if you could just tell us, elaborate a little bit more. Let me see what else here. Can you please explain to us if there's a process for you buying ammo? In New York State, there is not technically a process, depending on where you buy it from. Let's say you go into a Dick's Clothing and Sporting Goods, they ask for your driver's license, and they ask for you to show them your pistol permit if you're buying pistol ammo. That's why I don't buy from them, because they suck. My local gun shops here, they never ask for anything. I just buy whatever I want. Now, of course, there was some controversy when they passed the SAFE legislation here that New York State was trying to ban internet sales of ammunition so that they wouldn't allow them to be shipped directly to our homes. However, that was overturned in the courts, and you can ship ammunition to your home in New York State. And there's still a lot of ammunition companies online that still will not do that because they don't even know that they can, because you can absolutely get ammo shipped to your house in New York State. Right. But that's it.
Gotcha.
Let's see. See you, Logan. No, you got to go. So we'll see you. Let's see.
Yeah, Pistol Pete is saying binary triggers will start the conversation. Well, no, that's exactly right. Hopefully you guys won't judge me very much on this, but types of things where it basically is making a firearm. I know it's not literally making it automatic because you're still depressing the trigger each time. I know what the definition of automatic is, but some of those types of things, bump stocks and binary triggers and that sort of thing, although an interesting novelty nonetheless, to me, they don't serve as much of a purpose as quality sights, quality trigger, weapon lights, things like that. I mean, and that's just me. At the end of the day, I would still fight for the right for other people to have them. That's fine, but that sort of thing makes it a little bit harder for us to justify some of the stuff we have.
I could even eventually seeing these morons say to us, any modification of your sight picture is also going to ban your gun. You know what I mean? I could see that. I could see them doing that. Oh, well, now you can see at night because they're called night sights. I could imagine that'll be next. That'll be next.
Right.
So it wouldn't surprise me the least bit. Let's see. 1,000 rounds, 0 malfunctions on his P10 from Blazin. I've got now like 1,400 rounds for my P10. I had that one issue. Supposedly it's been fixed. But I'll be honest with you guys, I'm still a little leery of the P10. The reason why is because there's been a lot of talk about the back plate on the gun. And, I don't know if you guys have carefully looked at this enough, but if you rack your slide and you pull that trigger, that back plate does slide down. I won't say quite a bit, but it does slide down a little bit. And, when you pull when you rack the slide back and you lock it in place, you can actually push it back into place. So that's what got me a little leery on it, because I know some people were having issues with that. So I don't know, I'm still a little leery. I did carry it the other day, I mean, after 1,400 rounds, I feel all right with it, but I definitely have to shoot it more to see what's going on, if there's anything else, but supposedly they fixed it. So.
Well, CZ knows it is a known issue to them. I've heard that a couple of times here locally from a few sources. We're right down the street from CZ in Kansas City, Kansas, and they are well aware it's a known issue, and it's not every gun. I mean, I have not had that experience yet. I know others that haven't, but they are aware of it, which is good. I mean,
see you later, buddy. Sorry, Cass. Wicked's going.
See you, Wicked. Later, man.
Driver's ed. He's picking his daughter up.
He's going to driver's ed.
Yeah. I mean, I like the P10. I still think it's a really, really good handgun. It could have just been a fluke kind of thing, but you never know. So that's why I just got to keep shooting it. But once again, shameless plug, Steyr. I am absolutely a believer in this handgun. I think it's the best out, to be honest with you. For so many reasons. Yeah. Poster child for Steyr.
You are.
They need to give me a gun, damn it.
Well, you keep bugging them long enough, they just might, just to make you go away.
No, they won't. They won't. And, honestly, even with the CZs, it doesn't turn me off from CZ whatsoever, because to me, I love this gun. I absolutely love the P01. Love it. Love the P07. And, so CZ is still great. It's just, for me, the P10 had an issue.
So Hunts for Food has a question for you, and this goes for anybody out there. P10 or M9A1?
The Steyr?
Yeah.
I picked the Steyr, period. Period.
I would not. I love the Steyr, but because the P10 has been fine for me, it's run for me, and I've had great success with it, and they are both equally fun to shoot. But they shoot a little bit differently. I would pick the P10. I think the P10 is a damn good looking gun. I love that FDE color. I think that is the right FDE color right there. So I like it quite a bit.
Well, I'm not going to pick my gun because it looks pretty. I'm going to pick my gun because it hasn't had any issues with it. just saying, Well,
mine hasn't had any issues either, but it also is very pretty.
It's so pretty.
It's pretty.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I like the P10, but just because I had that bobble, it's made me a little bit more leery about it. It's not going to make me hand over the Steyr. It's not going to make me hand over my Glock 19. or any of my other pistols. It just, to me, it's a good gun. It shoots really nice, very flat, you know, not a lot of recoil at all. The trigger's really nice on it. But because I had that one hiccup, again, I'm a little leery about it, but you know, it is what it is, right?
Hey, Kevin Roberts is saying Massachusetts was trying to ban people from doing maintenance and oiling their gun.
I wouldn't be surprised. They want them to rust. But then you'll get the environmentalists who say rusting metal isn't good for the environment either. So who knows? Can't win. Pretty soon we're just going to be going back to swords. You know, everybody be carrying swords except for the elite.
I'm going to carry a Buccaneer.
Pops is asking me if I had any Gen 3 Glocks yet. I had the what is that? The Vickers Glock. That was a Gen 3. You know, with some updates to the, you know, the grip and everything. But, you know, for me, Pops, honestly, I like the Gen 4s. It's what I like the most. And really the only reason being, two reasons really. It's just a little bit thinner on the grip, and I like having the beaver tail backstrap. I mean, that's, for me, it makes a more sense because my hand fat gets chewed up by the slide-on Glocks. I don't know why. I can adjust my grip so I hold a little bit lower, but it just doesn't feel comfortable. So I absolutely we'll stick with Gen 4s, and I don't really see the need for Gen 5, but you know, that's me.
Right.
Although, you know, one thing I wanted to ask you, KS, because you're like the Gen 5 aficionado here. One of the things I noticed about the Glock, and you know how Glock made such a big deal about, oh my God, it's got an undercut here so you can rip your magazine out and all that other nonsense. Right. But honestly, with the Gen 4, it sort of has that in the rear. You know, all you gotta do is stick your damn thumb in there and pull that mag out if you have to. So, like, why did they have to put it in the front where your pinky is gonna rest? You know, back here, no issue.
No, it's a good question. Because they flared the magwell out a little bit more on the sides, it made it more difficult to grab it from the side, which is what most of us do, right? When we're clearing a malfunction, we want to grab from the side. And that's how most manufacturers build into their guns, whether it's Smith & Wesson or whomever. They build those little indentions in there. But Glock, since they flared the magwell out, they had to put that that cutout, and they also changed the lip of the magazine base plate a little bit, so you could grab in there and you could rip the magazine out. I think that cutout is freaking stupid. I can't stand it, although I've gotten used to it, so I don't really feel it anymore. I definitely did in the very beginning. I also have changed out the base plates. I don't use the new base plates because they stick out beyond the gun. I can't stand that. So I put on old base plates because it works just a little bit better, and they do just fine. And if I need to clear a malfunction, I can still get in there and grab it if I need to. But that's kind of why they did it. I like the flared magwell, but I think that cutout is just ridiculous. You know, make the base plate, you know, a millimeter or two longer, I suppose, or just make it down a little bit more. It'd be fine.
Right. And then who said that? Somebody said, I'm going to miss it. Harry Holster is saying, I'm going to miss my Vickers. You know, it was nice, and it was really a nice shooting gun, man. I can't lie and say it's not. But I personally, you know, I'm a Gen 4 guy. I like them better. You know, and really going from Gen 3 to Gen 4, you don't really see much of a significant difference. But I just think for me, the Gen 4 works the best, and that's why. And this one ain't going anywhere. You guys know I love this gun. But I did sell it to help pay for the Strike B. Because, you know, I'm not independently wealthy and I got to work. So sometimes you got to, you know, take a gun that maybe you're not perfectly sold on and you sell it. And I did, and I got a great price for it. So it helped basically pay for the Strike B, actually.
Yeah. That Vickers was good. Nolan was saying the more he messes with the Gen 5, the less he likes that cutout. I agree. Although, other than that, the Gen 5 is actually, it's a fine gun. It's a good Glock. You know, the trigger is pretty smooth for a Glock. I suppose it's still very Glockish, but the Gen 5 is fine. You know, it's a Glock is a Glock is a Glock, and if you're a fan, then the Gen 5 is probably no better or worse than the others. If you're not a fan, you're not going to like it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would prefer it to have just stayed with a Gen 4 model, and then just have the front serrations and make that the standard. I just think that's all they needed to do, really, and they would have had a win. But then again, I still think Smith & Wesson caught him off guard. I think with the compact, they did a much better job with that than the Glock Gen 5. But you know, again, it's all about opinions.
They knew what they were doing. They knew exactly what they were doing, and I'll tell you what, they hit a home run. They really did.
Maybe I'll know that one day.
Maybe.
By the time I'm 50. Let's see. No finger grooves for Nolan. He said perfect Glock, no finger grooves, Gen 4. I don't have an issue with the, if you have sausage fingers, it's not going to work with, with the grooves, but I don't, and they just fit perfectly. I don't really have any problem with any of the grooves, even with the Steyr. The Steyr gives you enough room for your fingers. I just think, different strokes for different folks,
Yeah, the 17 was a bigger issue for me with the finger grooves. So not having the finger grooves on the Gen 5 for the Glock 17 was perfect. That worked really, really well.
Yeah, and now Pops is asking if we can change it to CZs. So yes, we can change it to CZs briefly if you'd like, no problem. We like to pay attention to our people who sit with us and talk. CZ again, I loved CZ. Yes, Hunts for Food I ordered from Rain 6. But my first CZ was a PO1, and I had that years ago, before there was this huge CZ, and no offense to anybody, but fanboyism. Nobody really even heard of the PO1 when I got it, and now it's like one of the hottest guns because it's such a damn good gun. Then I got a PO7 Duty, wound up selling that for the second gen PO7, which I've had now for, I think, probably, gosh, a while. When they first released that Gen 2, that's when I got that PO7. And I've had a couple others. I had the PO9. The PO9 was nice, but it never really, I don't know, man. There was something about it that never sat well with me in the hand. It's a great gun, but I think the thing I never really liked about it was actually the grip. The grip felt too flat. There wasn't enough of that hump in the back. The PO7, I think, is a little bit more similar to a 75B type of grip, but for me, the PO9 just didn't fit that role well, even with the different back straps and everything. However, I do have the Phantom coming at some point, and I can't wait, because to me, that is the perfect polymer full-size gun. It's shaped like a 75B. It's light as hell, and I guarantee it's going to be shooting like a tack. Maybe not for me, but it definitely probably will. What are your thoughts about either KS?
I like CZ quite a bit. In fact, I may have a video coming out this weekend featuring a popular CZ firearm. That was fun to go out and shoot that. It's been a while. And I have to say, as I'm sitting here holding a Glock 19, I'll put that down. I held a Shadow 2 this weekend. I've shot Big Johnson's Shadow 2, and even in the limited time that I had with that gun, probably one of the nicest guns I've ever shot, as far as handguns go. I mean, it's perfectly balanced, at least in my opinion, and it's an exquisite shooter. It's a flat shooter. It's incredibly accurate, and it has moved up on the list for me a little bit. I mean, I've got two guns that are ahead of it right now. The Hudson, of course, as most of you guys know, and I hear they just released another batch of them. I'm hoping I see one, but who knows? I'm waiting like everybody else. And then the Strike, because 17 has been talking so much about it. I'm interested too, but I don't think that's going to come around until December or January, from what I understand. So it'll be a while for that. So the Shadow 2 has moved up, and that is a gun I will own at some point in time, and that would be a me gun. That would not necessarily be. I mean, I'd probably do a review on it probably, but it would just be a me gun, because that would be one of those guns you just take to range and you have a good time with. I don't really compete anymore so much, so it just would be a fun gun to plink and have a good time with it, and it's an extraordinary firearm.
Yeah, for me, when I'm looking at handguns, I'm trying to do things that make sense for me. Personally, for me, the Shadow 2 doesn't make any sense for me. I know there's a lot of people out there that love them, but it just doesn't have have any real need for me to be owning that gun. But again, that's just who I am. It doesn't mean you shouldn't get one, or anybody watching this shouldn't get one. It's just, it doesn't fit for me. For me, there's the Phantom was sort of the best of all the worlds. You have a full-size gun. It's shaped when I held that in my hand, the brief time I was actually able to hold it, it's like freaking butter, man, in the hands. It's so damn, it's perfect. It just has the perfect CZ shape. And for me, CZ's always worked for the hand. And that's sort of why I ditched the PO9. It just didn't feel the same for me. So I think for me, the Phantom is going to be the one, but we'll see, We'll see.
Right. So it looks like people are kind of starting to wander out. In fact, I think as we started talking about CZ, about 20 people left the room.
Yeah,
Oh, thanks, Pops. Appreciate it. So we probably ought to start wrapping things up.
Okay, we got 7 minutes, dude. I mean, if people want to cut out, it's their loss.
Yeah, right.
But let's see. Hunts for Food is asking, does the P07 have a decocker? It has both because it's an Omega. You can switch it's a convertible basically. So you switch in and out if you want decocker or safety. So you have that option. Safety makes the trigger better. That's all.
Now, Mateo is saying he's selling his P07. I am curious as to why, Mateo. What's the deal?
Yeah.
Is it because you're getting another Steyr? How many can you have, dude? Really? Seriously?
Yeah, probably, but I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all.
He's already got like 5.
Dude, I can't wait to get that L9. I cannot wait to get that. It's got to be awesome. I mean, if it's as good as this, it's just gonna be friggin' awesome, and I can't wait. See you, Mary Marie. You probably won't miss anything important. Trust me. Let's see. Chris Hunter saying they may come out with a subcompact hammer. They already do. It's called a Rammy.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you've ever held one, the thing's a pain in the ass to rack that slide. It's so damn small. It's so small, and the spring is so tight on that thing. It's a pain in the rear end to rack that slide.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Rammy. I don't think it feels very good in the hand, personally.
I think it's a little too small, to be honest with you. If you're going to go with something small, just get a P01 or a PCR. It's small enough to conceal, and it's still, I would say it's still considered a little snappier than other handguns just because of the alloy frame and everything. But it's easily concealable. It's super comfortable in your hand. I wouldn't get a Rammy. I would get a P01.
Well, I would do a P01 too. That Rammy, it's almost a 2-finger grip, and it's got a really fat grip to it. And I just, to me, it doesn't feel, it feels awkward.
Right. Yeah.
So Suat was saying, am I making a good call by selling my P320 compact and getting a P07 Urban Gray?
That's affirmative.
They're both good guns. Now, is the P320 pre or post new trigger? But the P07, if you like a hammer fired gun, man, the P07, it's tough to find a better gun.
I mean, it just also depends on what you like. Do you want a hammer fired, or do you want striker fire?
Right.
I mean, honestly, the P07 is a fantastic firearm. Even for double single, throw a spring kit in there, drop everything down by like 40%, your double action pull, your single action pull, and you got yourself an awesome handgun. You can't go wrong with that. And 320, I've had a couple. They just never were good for me. I know that KS likes them. I know Big Johnson loves them. But for me, it just, it's something about them. I don't know. I'm just not a SIG guy. Never have.
Yeah, and speaking of the P320, that comes back tomorrow. I'm very excited to see the new trigger on that. So I'm sure I'll be making some sort of update video over the next couple of weeks on that. I'm excited to shoot it and just see. I mean, I hear they've done some milling to the side and all that kind of stuff. So very interested in that.
All right, so we have about 3 minutes left, Cass. So why don't you start with your little exit here, and we'll go from there, buddy.
Well, as always, we appreciate you guys joining us, and it's always a pleasure continuing the conversations with you guys from week to week and getting to know any new faces that pop on board. So very much appreciate that. Got some new videos coming out. Got one actually coming out tomorrow night. I don't normally release videos on weeknights. It's usually a weekend thing for me, but just in honor of the Apex trigger that's announced actually today, I'm going to release that video tomorrow. For them. So look for that. And then I've got an If I Could Only Have One coming this weekend. Very excited about that. Speaking of the P07, I won't say what else is on it. And that's pretty much it. Thank you guys. As always, look forward to seeing you guys again next week.
Okay, cool. For me, same thing. I'm just going to anxiously be waiting to see what happens next week. There is a potential that 5 things will be coming next week for me, which would be totally awesome. It's been a really ridiculously long wait. So I'm super excited about that. I'll be doing at some point the Apex trigger video. Can't wait to do that because I'm very familiar with the M&P triggers already, but I don't even think I'm going to shoot it with it. I think I'm just going to put this bad boy in and just go from there. I also made a contact, which was kind of interesting because I try to reach out to people to see if they'd be willing to send me anything. And they don't buy me. I just want free stuff so I can look at it and use it. but there may be a 1911 coming soon for me. And it's not, you know, is it like a Dan Wilson or, you know, an ST? No, but I'm pretty excited because I've never owned one and I've never shot one. So it was really cool. And I think it's going to be coming soon. So I'm pretty excited about that. I got a bunch of other things to do, man. Just need the guns for them. So hopefully next week we'll have some new stuff up and running. But guys, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. You know, again, if you haven't checked out VidMe, go over there. Please make sure that you guys, you know, follow, I guess, whatever it is. And I'd appreciate it. And hopefully we can build that over there and make it more friendly for our gun community. So, you know, stay safe. Thanks for joining us, guys. And we'll see you next week.
Later, everybody.
See ya.
See ya.